Welcome to this week's edition of the Philbrook Football Podcast. I am joined by Doofus McGoofus, Cameron Philbrook. I am Isaiah Philbrook, your lovely host.
It's my official title, Doofus McDoofus. Is that what you
Doofus McGoofus.
Doofus McGoofus. All right. I like it.
Also, it's now fact. It's my podcast. Cameron has no ownership. I own all of the shares.
Doofus McGoofus. Join us for our special guest, Costa Koofus.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So let's just kick it off right away here. First game we're going to go over is the Chiefs versus Raiders. Predictions were wrong. The Chiefs ended up losing 30-31 on Thursday night to a last-second wild sequence of plays from the Raiders. Chiefs fall to 5-2. The Raiders go to 3-4. Next game up, Buccaneers versus the Bills. The Buccaneers lost 27-30. Buccaneers are now 2-4. The Bills go up to 4-2. Next game is Ravens versus Vikings. Vikings pull out the win there, 24-16. Ravens fall to 3-4. Vikings stay at a nice 5-2. Next game up is the Jets versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins pull out a win, 31-28, and was a close AFC East matchup there.
Because those matter.
Yeah, it's not like the Patriots aren't going to win the division still.
Right.
Dolphins go up to 4-2, and the Jets go to a still respectable 3-4. Next up was the abysmal Cards versus Rams game. The Rams absolutely demolished the Cardinals 33-0.
Terrible.
And at the same time injured Carson Palmer. So Drew Stanton came in and sucked it up even more. So that was cool. Rams go to 5-2 for the year. And the Cardinals slip to 3-4 and probably going to keep slipping from there. Speaking of beatdowns, the next game was the Jags versus Colts. The Jags defense demolished Jacoby Brissett 10 times for 10 sacks. Jags ended up winning 27-0. Jags go to 4-3 on the year. Colts are now 2-5. Oh boy.
As expected.
We'll see if Andrew Luck ever ends up coming back this year.
I think they're saying that he's not even coming back this year.
I wouldn't bring him back at this point. They don't have much of a shot anyways.
Yeah, let him heal and get a high draft pick, man.
Yeah. Just trade him.
For his sake.
Yeah. All right, next game up, the Saints versus Packers, which was kind of an interesting one going into the week. The Saints ended up winning as expected, 26-17. Saints move up to 4-2. Packers fall to 4-3. Next game is the Panthers versus the Bears, and one that, we did not expect the Panthers to lose, but Cam Newton finds a way.
Hey, last week I said that the Bears could win this game, man.
We both said it was possible, but we were like, Cam Newton should be able to pull this one out against the Bears. But look, man, apparently if Trubisky just throws like 9 passes every game, then
I think he only completed 4 passes.
Yeah, he threw, I think, a total of, it was either 7 or 9. He didn't break 10, so...
Yeah, and like all of his yards came on one pass to Cohen.
Cohen, yeah. Yeah, dude. Either way, the Panthers lost 3-17. Cam Newton basically handed the game to the Bears there. Panthers are now 4-3, and the Bears are 3-4.
McCaffrey had like 30 catches in that game, right? For like 7 yards, probably.
I don't remember that, but typically he has lots of catches for,
minimal gains.
Almost like he was overhyped.
Almost.
All right. Christian McCaffrey.
God.
Next up, we have the Titans versus Browns in a thrilling game of field goals. Went into overtime. The Titans squeaked one out against the Browns, 12-9. The Titans moved to 4-3 and currently in the lead in the AFC South. And the Browns and 49ers dropped to 0-7. And speaking of the 49ers, the next game is the Cowboys versus the 49ers. 49ers only put 3 men on the field for defense. Ended up losing 40-10 in a game where Ezekiel Elliott absolutely demolished them. Cowboys go to 3-3, and the 49ers drop to 0-7. Next up, we have was kind of surprising was the Broncos versus Chargers. Broncos put up a solid 0 points against the Chargers' mediocre defense.
Mediocre, yeah, but their defensive line is pretty good. So
I mean, they're playing well. I mean, they're not really great, but they're showing up finally, which I'm sure Philip Rivers appreciates.
I'm sure he does. Now, if the offensive line can show up for him, that'd be awesome.
That'd be
too.
nice.
I'm sure he'd love to not be getting pressure on every throw.
Either way, Chargers ended up winning 21-0. Chargers go to 3-4. Broncos are at 3-3. And that's that. Next game is Bengals versus the Steelers. Started off like it was going to be a good game, and then the Steelers kind of took over. Steelers ended up winning 29-14. Steelers
defense is legit.
Yeah, Steelers defense is looking legit this year. I mean, they're really not only are they playing well in pass coverage, which is kind of surprising, but they're also getting to the quarterback, which is really good. They really needed that similar to kind of what the Jags have right now is that pass rush defense. So yeah, Bengals moved down to 2-4, which I mean that's all too familiar for Bengals fans. They're pretty used to seeing 2 wins for a while, so
they're used to disappointment.
Yeah,
the entire state of Ohio.
Thanks, Marvin Lewis.
At least they have the Buckeyes, right?
Yeah, they'll find a way to choke in the college football playoffs.
And they play against Penn State this week, so that'll be a crazy game. This is
that's gonna cut out.
It's stupid though because they're picking the Buckeyes to win against Penn State. Buckeyes are like number 6 right now, and Penn State I think is number 2.
Yeah,
and
they'll always beat the Buckeyes.
Both teams are just annihilating everybody they play, but man, I don't know why. Anyways,
this is about NFL, man. This is grown men football. It says
the Philbrook football podcast. It doesn't specify. I mean, yeah,
not Philbrook amateur podcast. All right,
stupid Ohio State.
We're salty Ducks fans. All right, next game up, Seahawks versus the Giants. Kind of a sloppy whatever game in the first half. Ended up pulling it out. Seahawks ended up winning 24-7. Russell Wilson took it into his own hands. And Seahawks move up to 4-2. Giants fall to 1-6. Go figure, because they're bad. Next game up is the Falcons versus the Patriots, and what was hyped up to be a great game, and what should have been a great game, but the Pats, they took it to the Falcons, and the Falcons got a little momentum, and hashtag Foggate happened, and Patriots, man, those dirty cheater Patriots and their fog machines, finding a way to just screw up the Falcons apparently.
They put a fog machine in the booth that Steve Sarkisian was in, and in that fog was just fog of booze. I swear to God, this whole team is just held back by Sarkisian. He's terrible.
He is killing that team. They have so much talent.
I know that Shanahan is like a great coordinator, and like, yeah, a coordinator leaving a team can really be detrimental to an offense, but I mean, seriously, with the talent that is on this team, they should not be regressing this hard. It is insane to me.
They should not be 3-3 right now by any means, and that's like it's an optimistic 3-3. Like it's just because they started off like 3-1, but I mean they're slumping hard right now, and Sarkisian he's killing them. Either way, like I said, Falcons fall to 3-3. Patriots go up to 5-2, as you'd expect from the Patriots. A couple games left here. Actually, I think this is the last game. Yeah, last game left here. was the Eagles versus the Redskins. What ended up being a pretty good game. Redskins got off to an early lead, but Carson Wentz, that dude, some of the plays he made in that game were ridiculous. Oh, yeah. I mean, that dude is killing it this year, and their record shows because the Eagles are now 6-1. Redskins fall to 3-3 after the Eagles won on Monday night, 34-24.
Yeah, man, Carson Wentz is rolling. He has taken a huge step forward, and I definitely think that comes mostly from the front office realizing they needed to get some actual weapons for him. Mm-hmm. Jordan Matthews wasn't cutting it, and because they had no other help, Aguilar was just terrible. And that whole Eagles team is so much different this year than they were last year. It's crazy watching the difference, even though the coaches have all stayed the same.
Right.
And their scheme has, stayed the same. The Eagles really under the radar signing with Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey. Like, neither of those guys were necessarily... I mean, Alshon Jeffrey, sure, he's what I guess you could consider him elite when he's healthy and playing in a good scheme. But yeah, they've really opened up their offense for Wentz. They're a really fun team to watch.
Yeah, and a lot of that just comes from Carson Wentz. I mean, you put in his back. I think Nick Foles is backing him up again right now.
Oh God, I don't even know who's backing them up.
I think it's Nick Foles. Either way,
they still have what's his face, the dude they paid.
Chase Daniel.
Yeah, they paid him like $8 million to be a backup. I
think they still have him. I don't remember.
Because he was Doug Peterson's dude in Kansas City or whatever.
He was a great preseason quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Eagles are playing well, and like you say, what you mentioned, Nelson Aguilar. I mean, he looks way better this year.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he is just, and I don't know how much of that has to do with Carson Wentz just playing lights out and putting it, right in his hands every time. Yeah, but I mean, Aguilar's been looking good, and he's made a lot of really good plays for them. He's been more consistent this year. I
think in the off season he decided to get surgery, and to help out his performance, they ended up removing the bricks that were attached to his wrists and attaching hands to them.
I knew this was some beta shit.
But he's got a pair of hands this year. He's not just dropping everything thrown his way. It's been really great.
It's refreshing to see such a high draft pick finally kind of panning out for them.
Yeah. Do I think he's number one receiver worthy? No.
No.
But with a great supporting cast around him, he's playing really well, and he could develop into something like that eventually. He needs a little more time, though.
Yeah, that's for sure. I wanted to actually get to... we are Seahawks fans, so we try not to just talk about the Seahawks all day. But I do want to... Right now it's interesting with the Seahawks because they're playing really well. And almost every facet of that team right now is clicking. And it's nice to see as a Seahawks fan. But we're still kind of in this limbo zone of trying to figure out what's going on with the backfield. And what it seems like is, at least from my perspective, they're trying to get Eddie Lacy involved because they paid him a lot of money, but they're realizing that he's not good and has no explosiveness, no real jukes at all. He just runs forward, and so they're kind of like, okay, well let's throw Thomas Rawls in, and he's not really able to get a lot of rhythm. He's shown some good things, but he had a really bad fumble last week, and that's not really helping his cause. And you look farther down that depth chart, and you've got CJ Prosise coming back from injury. You don't really know if he's going to stay on the field for more than a couple plays before he gets hurt again. So then that leaves with J.D. McKissick, who's more of a pass catching back. So what do you make out of this Seahawks backfield?
I really think that they don't know what to do now that Chris Carson is gone. I really think that they were going to rely heavily on him this year after they saw how great he was in practice and training camp. And it was obvious that they wanted to keep him involved in the game. I would love to see them get Rawls going because...
Same.
Just... Even though his runs might not get more than a handful of yards, if you actually watch the game, he looks so much better than Lacey. It's ridiculous. Lacey is like, okay, I'm gonna follow my blocker and just follow them until they fall down, and then that's when I'm gonna fall down too and get tackled. Yep. Whereas Rawls, you see him trying to fight through the contact. You see him using his body and the way he moves to try to create space with defenders. He's just so quick in his body movements. Yeah. I would love to see him run behind a good offensive line. I'd love to see him with the Eagles. He would kill with the Eagles, man. He'd be the best running back on that roster immediately. But he's not on the Eagles. He's on the Seahawks, and he's running behind a terrible offensive line that has been, I guess you could say, playing better, which isn't much of a statement, but Odiombo actually had his best game as a pro last week.
I was just about to say, a lot of that has come from Odiombo actually playing okay.
Yeah, so. Which is good to see. Obviously you want to see some improvement. And it was also good to see Pokic come in and... actually, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
I think it's Pocic. Pocic? I think?
Pokic.
I don't know, dude. I think it's Pocic.
It was good to see Ethan P. come in. And
Ethan P.
It was good to see him come in and play pretty well in relief of Jokel. I'm not sure how long Jokel is supposed to be out. I don't know if you've heard anything on that, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. In fact, I really didn't even know he was injured, if I'm being honest. All of a sudden saw he wasn't playing in the game, and I was like, what happened to Luke Jokel?
I'm pretty sure he... oh, God, I don't remember what happened to him. But Pokic came in and played at the left guard spot and actually played pretty well.
Yeah.
So hopefully when Jokel comes back, best case scenario is that they put Pokic at right guard and start Jokel at left guard, because I think it'd be better to roll with Pokic and see what he has as far as getting him some NFL experience than Ibushi, who hasn't been all that much of an upgrade to Glowinski, if we're being honest. He communicates better and he sees the pressure a little bit better, but he's not very good. I would love to give Pokic some time to get the game experience and start his development now than waste him behind guys who aren't very good in the first place. They don't really have a whole lot to lose. They can't go. It can't be that much worse.
Yeah,
than they already are.
I almost entirely agree with you. I think we need a little bit more of a sample size from Pocic, Pikachu before I can, confirm that, okay, we should let him start, because we're in win now mode. Seattle is in. This is their Super Bowl window. Defense is starting to age. You gotta get to that point now, and Pikachu, Pocic, he's Ethan P. He's looking okay, but if he's struggling, we need someone that's at least just average garbage like the rest of the line. I don't know how to really word it. Just we need to make sure we have the safest option possible at every position on that line. Because I just want Russell Wilson to stay healthy, because he's playing out of his freaking mind right now, and I just want him to stay healthy.
Yeah, and before last week, I would have said best case scenario, they keep Pokic at left guard and move Joko to left tackle. But after last week, if Odiambo can build on that, I'd rather keep him there. Because Joko was a terrible left tackle for the Jags, but terrible for the rest of the league means maybe better than garbage for the Seahawks.
Better than Gary Gilliam.
Better than Gary Gilliam. Yeah, or so well.
Oh God, Bradley so well.
Bradley, quote, dead net. Oh God, never mind. I was going to try to make a terrible so well pun, but whatever.
Either way, to the point, original point about the backfield, because offensive line has to do with the backfield's performance. You're saying about Thomas Rawls.
They need to get him going.
I agree.
They need to commit to him as their lead back. And only... I really don't feel like they should be using Eddie Lacy at all.
I think they were smarter to leave him as a healthy scratch back when they were doing that with him. Because he's just not performing. He's not doing anything. He's on the field. They know they're going to run it when they have him on the field. And if they pass it, he's not quick enough to even get open for a pass on like a little flat route. He just doesn't have any quickness.
He doesn't add anything to the offense.
Right.
There's nothing he brings to the table that someone else couldn't do. Which is why they need to get Rawls going. Keep feeding him, and then bring McKissick in for third downs. Especially with Procise being made of glass. And
yeah, I'm okay with either Procise or McKissick on passing downs. That's fine, because Rawls kind of inconsistent in the passing game. Kind of drops it pretty consistently, but
which sucks because I would love to get him. I'd love to see him in open space.
Right, and when he does catch it, he does all right. It's just that he has to have better hands. But I would definitely agree that Rawls needs to be the feature back. I think it's time to stop with this Eddie Lacy crap, and just see what Rawls can bring. And worst comes to worst, you just draft Royce Freeman in the draft. Call it good. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
I would hope so. That'd be great. I think that they probably won't draft a running back early next year because they're probably going to bank on Chris Carson to come back. And
yeah.
I could see them picking up someone in the later rounds of the draft because they seem to draft at least one running back every year,
right.
if not like four.
Yeah.
So
just cut them or put them on the practice squad.
Yeah, most of the time it's just a cut, but it actually makes me kind of sad that we let Alex Collins go because he's been playing really bad, or I guess the whole Ravens offense in general has been playing bad, but he has been at least somewhat consistent for them. He's been showing good flashes, like if he was on a better offense, he would play well.
He still has fumbling issues, though, and that's what's holding him back.
Yeah, although I'd rather have Collins on the roster right now than Eddie Lacy.
I would agree.
Like it's bad. Eddie Lacy is great when you have Aaron Rodgers on your team and a great offensive line, but he's just not getting it done on this team. They have to quit using him because he's just going to keep putting them in holes in the opening quarters, and he's not going to get any more playing time. Yep,
very true. And moral of the story is get Rawls the ball.
Yeah,
and if that doesn't work, just keep throwing it to Doug Baldwin. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean that they can just keep doing that too. That's fine too.
But speaking about great offensive lines. I wanted to talk a little bit about this.
We were talking about great offensive lines?
Well, Seahawks have a great offensive line, so it's a perfect segue.
Depends what context you use.
They have a great college offensive line.
Yeah, maybe.
I wanted to talk about this Cowboys shellacking of the 49ers just for a minute. Typically, whenever the Cowboys win, everyone freaks out and says, America's team! Yeah, Cowboys are back in action. Listen, They beat
Skip.
Skip. They beat the 49ers. Okay? Literally, they are the 7th team this year to beat the 49ers. Okay? Like, please do not all of a sudden go all, Cowboys are back, baby. Let's go, dem boys. Like, Des Bryant. Like, chill. Their corners are, like, ranked, like, 56, 62, and 64, I think, in the league. That's terrible, okay? Like, don't even with me, okay? Like, yes, it was, if you're a Cowboys fan, it was great to see them dominate like they should against the 49ers, okay? Yeah. But just don't get too excited about this one. I mean, it's like, it's the Niners, man.
Yeah, if they had, like, done that to the Giants, it would have been more impressive, or the Redskins, that would have been impressive. A better quality team. I mean, Giants aren't that much greater, but
their defense is better.
Their defense is way above the 49ers.
Yeah.
As far as talent goes. Yeah, it would have been an impressive win for any other team in the league, save the Browns, maybe. Mm-hmm. But even the Browns' defense has been actually
all right.
Pretty good. I feel like they would be a really good defense if they had a better offense. But regardless, the Niners are not a talented team. The Dallas offense is talented, hasn't been playing up to that level. So it's good to see them, for the sake of football, it's good to see them playing up to what they should have been doing earlier this year.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Was like, this is what people were expecting from the Cowboys when the season started. It was, okay, they just came off a 13-3 season. Everyone's back, like, except for a couple offensive linemen, but they still have a stacked offensive line. Like, they should be fine. And then they've been pretty underwhelming. So this is a good start, but I want to see what they do this next week, because we got to see them do it more than one game in a row.
Yeah, they need to find some consistency, and the only consistent person on that offense has been Zeke, and
right, kind of Dak.
Yeah, when he wants to be. I feel like when the game plan, when Zeke is on top of his game, that's when Dak plays his greatest. I feel like really that's the biggest reason why Dak did so good last year was because Zeke was having such a great year.
Right.
And he could play off of that. It's like, I thought it was the worst thing ever that Dak won Rookie of the Year over Zeke.
Yeah,
considering
that nonsense.
Zeke would have feasted either way, whether it was Dak at quarterback or Romo. It wasn't going to matter. He was gonna get 1,600 yards.
I feel like he might have been able to get even more yards with Romo, just because they'd have to really respect the pass at that point.
Yeah, that was crazy to me. I couldn't believe that. I thought that was the dumbest thing ever. But quarterbacks always have some kind of stupid advantage because
they have more numbers to look at, you know.
Yeah,
it's like that's just how it is. But either way, Cowboys will look to be a little bit more consistent. See if they can get there, because everyone's saying like they're still the favorite, and I'm like, well, we'll get past the Eagles then.
Yeah, I'd love to see them. As the favorites try to go against the Eagles. That'd be ridiculous. The Eagles are just going to waste on them. Wentz is playing like an MVP, and
Cowboys defense is not
Cowboys
good.
defense is terrible. Yeah, and the offense hasn't been consistent. It's been, like we said, it's been Zeke, and Des Bryant has been underperforming, just kind of like a lot of receivers in the NFL right now, it seems like. Guys that were expected to maybe have great, insane years, or teams that their offense was supposed to be top-notch, just haven't lived up to that. Des Bryant is kind of teetering on the edge of that right now.
Yeah, if we're talking about just kind of some specific kind of like fantasy flops, for these receivers, And not only in fantasy, but just for the team in general. I mean, it's you've got Des Bryant. Like, yeah, I agree. He's kind of teetering. I think just a lot of that comes from the fact that we expect Des Bryant to be better than he has been, just because of what he's done in the past. That being said, he's still their best receiver, but he's not as good as he should be. But yeah, he's not quite a flop yet. I think that if we're going to talk about flops for receivers, you have to start with Terrell Pryor, because that guy... we were talking about bricks earlier with Aguilar. I'm pretty sure he took those bricks from Aguilar's surgery and glued them into his soul, because he cannot hold on to the ball, man. Like he keeps dropping them, and that just opens up more opportunities for guys like Josh Doxson, and he's losing his grasp on the number one wide receiver on that team.
Yeah, I think he permanently lost it. I think that they were trying to get him to play at the level that he was playing for the Browns, but I really think a lot of people didn't actually watch the Browns games. Go figure, because other than Cleveland fans, who's going to actually watch those games? I mean, it's expected, but if you did watch those games, a lot of the reason why Pryor got the numbers he did is volume. He was the only person on that team, the only receiver on that team that had really any... I'm trying to think of any talent, but more like ascendant talent. Like not ascendant like he's the greatest receiver ever.
He's a god on the Browns.
But you can tell the difference between like guys who are camp bodies most years, or come into the season as the number 3 or 4 on the depth chart. That's pretty much all Browns receivers, except for last year they had Terrell Pryor, who showed flashes of being a actual solid NFL receiver.
Right. And I think he still can be. He's just got to hold on to it. Like he's had these opportunities, and it's a lot like a guy like Nelson Aguilar from like last year. Like he has the opportunities. He just has to keep it in his hands. I am not personally ready to like give up on him, but if we're just talking the facts, he has been really bad this year, and I hope that he can turn it around, because I mean the dude has been working his butt off to stay in the league. So
if he had been able to play with the Redskins that had Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson, he would have been, I think his numbers would be a lot better. The problem is that all of the receivers or at least the guys that were supposed to be their top 2 receivers, Terrell Pryor and Jamison Crowder, are not playing as well as people hoped they would.
Right.
They and that again stems from not having Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson, who are both really good receivers in their own right. I think a lot of people were hoping that Crowder would have a coming out party this year and be a consistent force on that offense.
Especially a guy that might have drafted him like 24th overall. Not naming names, but I might have done that.
Pryor? I was talking about Crowder.
Yeah.
You did not.
No, I didn't draft Crowder.
I don't know if anybody drafted Crowder.
No, somebody did in our league, because I remember he wasn't available right off the bat. I was going to handcuff Terrell Pryor.
Oh, yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but their best receiver has been Chris Thompson, their running back. So
yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah. Jordan Reed, as far as a true receiver, I'd say is probably their most talented still. But Thompson's obviously the more mobile, healthy guy.
Which is crazy. Did you know this is his 5th year in the league?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. He just kind of came out of nowhere. I guess he's just been injured most years.
Yeah, he's been injured off and on, and the Redskins have had no idea what to do with their backfield for the longest time now. So
yeah, they had Rob Kelly last year, but who was the guy? I know he wasn't like
Matt Jones.
Oh God, he wasn't their starter.
He was their starter.
Oh man.
Yeah, they committed to that guy.
What about before that? Like
before Matt Jones? Oh man.
I don't know if I paid attention to the Redskins that much. Oh, Alfred Morris. Duh.
Oh yeah. Because that was with RG3.
Idiot. Yeah. I'm a freaking
so
idiot.
Since Alfred Morris, they have had zero idea what to do with that backfield.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that they even let Morris go. Like he doesn't offer anything in the passing game, sure, but I bet they'd love to have him back now. Like Rob Kelly's like a little bit better Eddie Lacy. He's just like a big dude, and then P. Ryan hasn't really been all that great. And
P. Ryan, he strikes fear into his opponent's hearts. P. Ryan.
P. Ryan. I think that's like a type of eagle, isn't it?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't freaking know. I swear it's some kind of bird. But
either way, that backfield's a mess, but thankfully Chris Thompson's a savior.
His first name backwards is E. James.
More like E-Jamas, Cameron. Come on.
Oh, if you did his name backwards, it'd be Pajamas. That's great.
Henry Pajamas.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Anyways.
Eater at Pajamas.
Your pajamas.
Oh, that's good stuff. Quality content here on the Philbrook Football Podcast. Brought to you by Lame Jokes Everywhere. Oh, great. Now we're going to have a copyright claim. This is awesome. Anyways, we're talking about receivers.
Yeah, so Pryor was a flop. Speaking of, I mean, that's my segue for every receiver, but dude, Martavis Bryant, that dude, not only has he been a flop on the field, but he's been a mess off the field. He's not getting high, as far as we know, but I mean, he is like melodramatic baby at this point, man. He's like, he has like no, he doesn't feel good for his teammates. He's not a team guy at this point. He's just like, give me the ball because I think I'm really good. And it's like, okay, well, then catch the ball, you dingus. Like, when he throws you the ball, you should catch it. Like, prove it.
I feel like it'd be great on just about any other team that needs a receiver, but I mean, the Steelers' game plan at this point is just like, oh, okay, we have the best wide receiver and the best running back in the league.
Right.
Let's just feed them 20 times a game each, and that's it. I mean, that's pretty much their game plan. The rest of
Take some notes, Atlanta.
The rest, yeah, no kidding. The rest of their game plan, they give the rest of the guys scraps. I mean, Martavis Bryant is a like literal freak athlete. It's insane. He's like what, 6'3"?
I think he's taller than that. I think he's 6'5". He's really tall.
And he runs like a 4.3 40. And he's just like, he's on the same athletic tier as like Randy Moss, and they just can't, he just can't put it together, and they're just not giving him the ball. If he went to another team that needs some receiver help, I bet he'd be great for them. But
I'm sure he
and I think he knows that, and that's why he's being like this, because Roethlisberger's declining, but he knows how to throw to Antonio Brown,
right?
And they're obviously gonna keep, flowing the game plan through Le'Veon Bell right now. There's just not a whole lot to go around for him. If he catches the 2 passes thrown his way, that's like a great day. But if he drops 1, that's half of his production.
Right. Yeah, I think talent-wise, he's good. Like, he is like a great athlete, and he can catch the ball, and he's a good wide receiver, but he needs to adjust.
That's the football.
He needs to adjust his game with Ben Roethlisberger not really performing to the same level that he did in the past. Like, he's not going to be able to really get it to 60, 70 yards down the field as much anymore. Like, you're going to have to start being able to catch those quick passes that Antonio Brown can catch. Or literally every pass like Antonio Brown can catch. Like,
well, that's just not the kind of receiver he is.
But he's going to have to adjust. If he wants more targets on that team, he's going to have to adjust. Otherwise, he's going to keep getting 3 targets a game and hoping to capitalize on those couple of deep shots. Because he gets mad that Juju Smith-Schuster gets these targets, but he's getting the same amount of targets. Like, it's just that Smith-Schuster happens to be open and catches the ball. But, like you said, there's not a lot to go around at that point. Like, you're giving Le'Veon Bell 25, 30 carries a game at least, and when they want to win, and they're throwing it to Antonio Brown 13, 14 times a game. Like,
there's not a whole lot left after that.
There's really not a whole lot left, especially when, think about this. If Ben Roethlisberger throws 30 passes, at least 13 of those go to Antonio Brown, okay? The rest, at least another probably 9, 10 targets are going to go to Le'Veon Bell or the backfield. Leaves you with
exactly
7 other targets. I mean, it's
to go to the rest of the team.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think Martavis Bryant is completely in the wrong. I think he has a right to say, like, hey, give me the ball. I'm a great talent. But I don't think he's doing it in the right way. I don't think it's good to go on Instagram and talk crap about your teammates because he made a good catch. Like,
yeah, he is definitely acting childish and very immature, and that's why they're giving him the lesson right now. They're putting him on scout team.
Right.
And he's going to lose his starting spot is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of how the Steelers organization works, is you're going to do your job, and if you don't like it, somebody else will do it. Like, there's so many other guys in the league that are hungry for a chance to prove themselves, and if you're not going to take that, then somebody else will. And I hope he can get to a different team that needs the help, because he would be great on a team that maybe spreads the ball around more or is looking for better receivers, looking to upgrade their receivers. But yeah, right now he's just kind of digging his own grave with the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see if he can turn it around, but right now it's not looking too great for him. Just a couple more receivers I wanted to cover. Not necessarily as much in depth because it's not really as big of a deal. But Randall Cobb, John Brown, pretty much every Panthers receiver, and Marcus Wheaton for the Bears. I think all of these guys are underperforming pretty heavily. Cobb, at this point, you don't really expect him to bounce back with Brett Hundley at quarterback. I mean, we'll see what Hundley ends up bringing to the table, but Cobb has not been very good the last couple of years, even with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So I don't know about him.
He's losing out to Adams.
Yeah,
really.
Devontae Adams is kind of taking over that second receiver spot. John Brown, I don't know if you have anything you want to say about him other than...
Really, I mean, it comes down to bad quarterback play. I mean, you saw in 2015 when the Cardinals go to the NFC Championship game, John Brown was playing great football then because Carson Palmer was playing great football then. That whole offense was great. Now, this year, Carson Palmer has been very underwhelming, really showing his age, and it's cut into everybody's production except for Larry Fitzgerald because he's produced with guys like John Skelton and
Kevin Cobb
and like all these guys who are just terrible. So if he can produce with them, he's going to produce with anyone.
Right.
So Larry Fitz isn't a guy you need to worry about, but the rest of these guys are dependent on good quarterback play. I still think John Brown has good talent, and he's definitely one of the fastest guys on that team.
Yeah.
And possibly even the league. But he's just not going to be able to put it together with Drew Stanton at quarterback. I don't really like anybody on that offense except for Larry Fitzgerald for the rest of the year. Or at least until they get Carson Palmer back and David Johnson, then their offense could find some resurgence towards the end of the year. But for the next 4 weeks, next 4 or 5 weeks, they're just going to be awful. And I don't expect anything from John Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I still like Adrian Peterson. Obviously, we were all taught that we need to kind of chill out on him because, Rams kind of put him in his place. But yeah, that offense, it's Fitzgerald and kind of no one else right now.
It was a surprisingly bad performance for Peterson considering what the Rams had not been accomplishing in the run game. I mean, they had given up the most rushing touchdowns of any team. And I think the 7th most yards or something like that.
Game script wise, Rams they started blowing them out immediately. So
yeah, their defensive line is figuring it out, and that's really helping them on defense because their secondary isn't all that great. But either way, AP I guess could hold some value until Johnson comes back, and then at that point. I mean, he's a handcuff. He's a handcuff for Johnson owners. If God forbid, if David Johnson gets hurt again, I'd hate to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, just to touch on the other guys I was saying, Marcus Wheaton. I mean, just there's not much to say. He has not performed at all for the Bears. And the Bears' passing attack has, been pretty awful. But he has had opportunities. I have watched a couple of Bears games. That dude has had opportunities and has done nothing. So that was not great to see. I mean, it kind of was because he was an Oregon State guy. So I was like, Beavers suck. But at the same time, I'm like, I want people to be successful. So
right.
He's been pretty bad.
It's hard to be very good when they're throwing less than 20 times a game every game. Even with Glennon, they're throwing less than 20 times a game.
Yeah.
And now with Trubisky, they're throwing less than 10 times a game. So.
But if they had better receivers, they might have actually been like, okay, we'll let you throw it because you actually have someone to throw to. But
I don't know why. I don't know about you. I never expected Marcus Wheaton to really do anything. He was the number 3.
He did pretty well for the Steelers when he did play.
When he has Martavis Bryant and Antonio Brown playing with him.
Yeah, I mean, that's
and
true.
Le'Veon Bell. I
just expected a little bit more than one reception for 7 yards on a play where it was a scramble or a lateral drill at the end of the game.
I think your opinion of him may be a little skewed because of that crazy game he had against the Seahawks a couple years ago. That might have been it. Because they were like, okay, we're going to shut down Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant and then just leave Marcus Wheaton open to get 200 yards or however many yards he got.
We still beat him, though.
Yeah, we still beat them, which is great. But they were like, yeah, let him get the ball to Wheaton. That's fine. Who cares? He's not that good. And then he, I think he had 200 yards in that game or something like that.
Almost. It was 170 something, I think. Yeah, so he's underperforming. And then last, as far as these receivers go, the Panthers. I mean, I specify the receivers because we're talking about receivers. I mean, the team in general is kind of blech, but specifically their receivers are not playing very well, and especially in fantasy purposes. I mean, Calvin Benjamin's kind of a flex option sometimes. You never know because it depends on if Cam Newton feels like playing with any sort of effort for the week.
If you can't tell, Isaiah loves to bash the Panthers.
I hate the Panthers.
At any opportunity.
And I want to... I look at them... Here's the thing. I look at them objectively, and I'm like, okay. No, I really do.
I think you No. But I don't know if you've ever said anything positive about the Panthers in any of these podcasts.
Here's the positive thing, okay? I'll give you a positive on the Panthers, okay? When Luke Kuechly's on the field, that defense is pretty sweet. That linebacking core is good. Luke Kuechly is a monster of a linebacker. As much as I didn't like him coming into the NFL, he proved me wrong pretty much right away.
Why? Why didn't you like
I
him?
just thought I don't know, man. I was
He's a monster at Boston
for
College.
some reason I just like
Did you come across as like a douche or something?
Well, that was part of it. So they did a series that year. There was like this little mini series where it was like following the rookies or
they
whatever.
do that every year.
Well, yeah. So I watched that a little bit, and every interview with him, I'm like, he just didn't seem like the monster like personality, of a linebacker. He just I don't know. I just got the sense from him like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know if he's going to be that good, but he clearly is a fantastic linebacker, great player.
He's like the only linebacker to win, or middle linebacker to win Defensive Player of the Year since like God knows when, probably Ray Lewis or something.
Because it's usually just some guy that has the most sacks in the league for the year. So.
Yeah.
But like, that's the thing. When he's on the field for them, their defense plays well. I like their D line. I don't really like their secondary, but I like that front seven for Carolina. I think they have that going for them.
Julius Peppers continues to defy age somehow. I don't know. He's like 37 years old or something crazy. Actually, I think he's like 35, but at that point, when you're over at like 33 in the NFL, it's like, dang, you old.
Yeah. Well, James Harrison comes out and you're like, how are you still playing? But
PEDs.
But that's their right spot, okay? Because that offense is really bad. Their offensive line isn't good, and Cam Newton is terrible under pressure. So, and their wide receivers aren't really helping him. Kelvin Benjamin is, he's something. He's tall. He makes these kind of jump ball catches, but he's. I don't know, man. Like, he's just struggling with the consistency. Like, he's having a really hard time really being a number one wide receiver that you can really go to. It's like he'll get those deep balls and he'll get these like couple of big plays, but when you have a number one wide receiver, you need consistency. Like Antonio Brown is consistent. He's getting the short passes. He'll get the 20 yards, the 30-yard passes. He'll get them all, Kelvin Benjamin's not doing that. He's getting the 30-yard pass and the 2-yard pass and not a lot other pass, It's kind of one or the other with him.
I'd love to see him with a better passing quarterback. Like, love to see him with, like, Drew Brees, for example. I think that on his own, he has potential to be a very good receiver. The Panthers' offense has always just kind of been, like, reliant on miracle plays.
Right.
That's kind of their thing. And it all came together for Cam just a couple of years ago to win MVP.
Right.
But, that whole season was pretty much the same thing that they've been doing with him since they've had him. They just happened to get extremely lucky with most of the throws.
Right.
So, Kelvin Benjamin, I don't know exactly what to think of him yet, and it's hard to really gauge what he's capable of when he doesn't have the best passing quarterback to play with.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. He just, in all honesty, that wide receiver core is not very deep, so I feel like they're probably going to continue to underwhelm, especially with the way Cam Newton's been playing. But just to kind of move into our last little segment here, just going to do our predictions about the games coming up for this weekend. So we have the Thursday night game tomorrow. This podcast always comes out on Saturdays, so typically I'll put in what the score ended up being from the Thursday game. But we have the Dolphins and the Ravens. Crazy matchup, I know, on this Thursday.
Dolphins and Ravens. That's great.
Yeah. I'm personally taking the Dolphins because I gotta stop doubting them because they keep finding some way to do it, and I honestly feel better about them with Matt Moore than I do with them with Jay Cutler. So I'm going to take the Dolphins here.
Jay Cutler's like, I'm getting paid $10 million just this year to like stopgap for Ryan Tannehill. Like, I mean, I don't care if I play very good.
Right.
Whereas Matt Moore's like, wow, you guys apparently thought I was so bad that you had to bring a retired quarterback in to hopefully steer the ship. Like, and yeah, I think he's gonna gunsling the rest of the year because he's got nothing to lose.
Right.
He's got no one behind him that they can put in and hope that like they get something better out of it. Like he's gonna be the guy the rest of the year, and they're just gonna have to deal with that. But yeah, the Ravens are just. It'll be interesting to see because their pass defense has so far seemed like it's good, but they've played against a lot of really bad teams. So it's like, I can't. One of these weeks, we're going to find out whether they're legit or not.
Right.
And for now, it's just like still a maybe. So,
Yep.
I think they've shown they're good enough to compete with Matt Moore or a Matt Moore level of talent. We'll see what happens, but I'll go ahead and pick the Dolphins for this one as well. You know what we should do? We should start writing down what our predictions are, so that way we can see how accurate we are. Like at the beginning of an episode, we can be like, "Oh, here's the scores. I got this right, and you got this one wrong," and we'll see who's like more accurate at the end of the.
Yeah, I usually just like remember most of my predictions. So.
Oh, I don't.
Oh, yeah, I usually just remember.
I mean, I remember some of them. If it's a bold prediction, I'm like, oh yeah, I expected, or I thought they were gonna.
But I also have to edit it, so
True.
Okay, so next game, Vikings versus Browns. We're both going to take the Vikings because Cameron, if I trust his brain, is smart enough to pick the Vikings in this one.
I think so.
I'm sure the Browns will find some way to blow them out by 30 points, though, because that's the NFL for you. Next game up, Raiders versus Bills. Could go both ways after seeing how the Raiders played last week.
The Raiders go both ways, all right.
I personally like the Bills in this one solely because they have been playing really good football this year. I mean, they're 4-2, and they've been really controlling the clock. So I
don't know how. Who's their number one receiver?
That's the thing. They don't
Jordan
have receivers.
Zay Jones.
Jordan Matthews and Zay Jones, who have done basically nothing all year, but they're finding a way, man.
Their way is Tyrod Taylor somehow miraculously making things happen, and LaShawn McCoy. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, best receiver is LaShawn McCoy on that team.
Ridiculous.
So I'll take the Bills. I don't know about you, but
I think the Raiders on offense are going to get back on track. So it's really going to... If I had to bet, it's going to come down to... God, I was about to say some stupid John Madden thing. It's going to come down to who scores more points. The guy who scores more points is going to win the game. But I think it's going to come down to who's better on offense.
I feel like it's just about who controls the clock. Like, who's really able to control the flow of the game and keep their momentum. Because I think both these teams rely on momentum quite a bit.
Yeah. And... Man, it's hard because Oakland just beat Kansas City, who was looking like the top dog. It was kind of like a miracle that they won.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really the fault of Kansas City.
But it's still hard to pick against them now because they've beat a top team like that.
Right.
I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one tentatively. Just because I honestly haven't watched any Bills games this year. And all I've watched is like highlight videos, which doesn't really give me a good gauge of how they actually play.
They're not exactly the most exciting team to watch.
Right. So, I'm gonna take the the Raiders just because I think that they can get back on track, especially with Marshawn Lynch being out. I think that's going to let them actually play the offense that they want to play instead of trying to run the ball with him, which has not been working at all this year.
Yeah, backfield's been kind of a mess this year.
Let Carr carry that team, man. Just let him do it.
Just go the Packers' way and just say, you didn't get on your first carry 30 yards? All right, we're just going to throw it there, and Rodgers the rest of the game you suck.
I think both of their running backs, or at least I know Jalen Richard is a good pass catcher.
He's a good pass catcher. He's not much of a runner. Dwayne Washington?
DeAndre Washington.
He's all right. Either way, those are our picks for that one. To one that's who really cares, we have the Colts and Bengals.
Two teams in the middle of a dumpster fire. Whose fire will burn brighter?
Two teams where one has had a bye week, so they're not 2-5, they're 2-4. The other hasn't had a bye week, and they're 2-5. I'll take the Bengals because I trust AJ Green and Andy Dalton more than Jacoby Brissett and T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, I think this game is gonna. Oh yeah, and Malik Hooker is out too. So who's been playing like one of the best defensive backs. It's crazy how good all of the defensive backs have been playing this year. The rookies.
Yeah,
it's really crazy, man.
And they don't talk about them much, but they really have been.
Yeah, and if he had more help underneath, Hooker would be more talked about, but he's not, so he doesn't have any help. And
right.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Bengals as well. As much as they're like dumpster fire, like I was saying earlier, I think the Colts are more of a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Their fire burns brighter and it's more smelly.
More smelly. All right. Next game. That should be a good one. Chargers and Patriots.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's like weird. That's like a weird matchup.
Normally you're going to pick the Patriots, but the Chargers have won 3 in a row against solid teams. And Patriots defense has been bad. I mean, they just showed up against Atlanta because they actually gave a crap against Atlanta, but they're not going to give as much of a crap against the Chargers. So, and Phillip Rivers he'll do his thing. He'll either throw 4 interceptions or he'll not. It's one or the other of them.
Yeah, he's going to... mark it down, he's going to throw at least 2, or at least have 2 turnovers, whether it's a fumble or a interception, whatever. But man, I really want to pick the Chargers just because I can't stand the Patriots, and seeing them win just makes me disappointed for football. But it's going to be an interesting game. I'm actually kind of curious to watch that game. I could see it being a good game. It's really going to come down to the pass rush. The pass rush for the Chargers really has to step it up. Historically, the way to beat Tom Brady is to pressure him. Mm-hmm. That's historically the way to beat him. That's how the Giants...
Specifically in the middle, not off the edge as much. Like, pressure him up the middle.
That's how the Giants were able to beat him in 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
They straight up put Jason Pierre-Paul as their defensive tackle to get pressure in the middle. If they can do that, I don't even think they really have to get it in the middle, but if Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa can keep playing like they've been playing, or even step it up a little bit more, I think the Chargers could win this game because the Patriots don't really have a pass rush, and their secondary has been definitely exploitable. So I would love to see the Chargers win this game, and I'm actually going to pick them. I'm going to pick them.
I'm going to pick the Patriots solely because it's really hard to not pick them. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers found a way in this game just with how bad Patriots have been on defense. But, I mean, just whenever you watch the Patriots on offense, I mean, it's just so effortless, man. Like, I was watching that game against Atlanta, and I swear, like, 3 plays in a row, it was like the same play almost. It was just like he hiked the ball, he looks around for a second, and then dumps it off underneath and gets 11, 13 yards. And he did it like 3 plays in a row, I swear. And I was like, can you just stop this play already? Like, they've done it to you so many times in a row. Like, Patriots they just get it on offense, man. It's hard to pick them. If they were playing as a really good defense, it might take it the other way. But I mean, it's hard to pick the Chargers in this one, just because it's the Patriots. But
yeah,
I want the Chargers to win, but Patriots are probably going to win that one. All right, next game.
Want to believe.
Next game is Bears and Saints.
I'm definitely taking the Saints.
Definitely taking the Saints. Bears will put up a fight for quarter and a half.
Yeah, the Bears just do not have the firepower to keep up with the Saints. They don't have the defense to limit the Saints. And the Saints' defense isn't bad enough anymore to let them stay in the game.
Right.
The Saints have probably the best defense this year that they've had in the last...
Since 2011.
And it's been great.
And they're doing it without paying them bounties. So that's a plus.
God, screw Greg Williams. Piece of crap. I can't believe he's still in the league. The Saints are a sneaky dark horse team to contend in the NFC, I think.
Yeah.
But they're just if they win the NFC South this year, the Buccaneers are going to win it next year because everybody's just trading off.
Rotating.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Either way, we're both going with the Saints in this
Saints.
one. Yeah. Another NFC South team. God. The Falcons against the Jets. I mean, you'd hope the Falcons would win, right?
You'd hope.
I don't know, man. Josh McCown is the truth. He's...
Dude, wasn't that guy coaching a high school team a couple years ago?
Josh McCown?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He was coaching a high school football team when he came back to play for the Bears a few years ago.
No.
Yes, look it up. He was coaching a high school team. Jay Cutler gets hurt. They bring in Josh McCown. He has that crazy year with Mark Trestman somehow. And then they were like, dude, you've been a career backup your whole life, and now you're balling out. And then he went to the Bucks, and then he went to
won 2 games with the Bucks.
Yeah, won two games with them. And then where did he end up after that?
Browns.
Yes, the Browns. He became a helicopter for them.
Yep.
And
he did.
and now here he is in New York, just leading them right along. Yeah, I hope that they don't win this game. I hope the Falcons win, at least for your sake.
My heart.
And for your hair. But man, at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if they lose. The Jets have surprised me all year long, so I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow...
Because Josh McCown's the truth. I'm going to take the Falcons because I have to.
Yeah,
it would feel wrong not to.
I'll take the Falcons as well, but I'm just going to laugh if the Jets win and be like, that freaking figures.
I'll just cry. All right, next game, Eagles versus the 49ers. Okay, well, that's not a matchup, so moving on.
Oh, man, I'm so glad I have Carson Wentz in my starting lineup this week.
Yeah, Eagles win that game. They're not losing.
I just hope the Niners can play it competitively so that way they have to keep throwing.
That's what I always hope too. I'm always like, please play the Seahawks kind of competitively so Russ still has to throw.
Yeah.
All right. Panthers versus Buccaneers. It's going to be at least 6 interceptions thrown in this game.
Oh my God.
5 of them for Cam Newton. You know what? I'll take the Bucks. Because I don't like the
Wow,
Panthers.
I'm so surprised. Isaiah didn't pick the Panthers.
Is Luke Kuechly playing? Is he good?
He's in a permanent concussion.
if Luke Kuechly plays, I don't know. Maybe the Panthers.
Yeah, just for the sake of disagreeing with you, I'll take the Panthers because their defense is just so much better, and Jameis Winston loves to give the other team the ball.
Very true. All right. Personally, what I believe to be the matchup of the week, Texans versus Seahawks. I think we're going to see a lot of really good offensive firepower in this one. But ultimately, Deshaun Watson has not had to play against a defense like Seattle's. And I think they're going to take it to him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You're right that Watson hasn't played any superb defenses. Seattle is obviously going to be the best team the best defense that he's faced. But that's kind of how it goes with any team that plays the Seahawks. They're going to be the best defense they play against. But if you look at the games that Watson played against even decent defenses, against Jacksonville, yes, he came in later in the game, but he had an interception and a fumble. And granted, it was his first game. That's
a tough one to come in on, Jacksonville.
Yeah. And then he struggled to throw the ball against Cincinnati, which doesn't bode very well. But then the next few teams he's played, New England, he threw a couple of interceptions, and their pass defense has been awful. Tennessee, whose defense has been very exploitable, played really well against Kansas City, which is good to see, and then obviously beat up on the Browns, which you would hope.
Right.
It's interesting. He doesn't really seem to have a whole lot of stiff competition he's going to have to face this year. He's going to play Seattle, and then he plays Indianapolis twice. He'll play San Francisco later this year. He'll play Tennessee again. And then the best team he's going to have to face is Jacksonville in Week 15, the Steelers in Week 16, and then the Cardinals' pass defense has been, at least Patrick Peterson has been pretty decent. Patrick Peterson has only allowed 7 catches for 80 yards all year. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but anyways,
Justin Bethel allows 400 for 8,000 yards. So.
Right. Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be as offensively amazing as you think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a game of defenses. I do think that Seattle is going to win this game because the Texans' defense isn't on the same level. At least not right now.
Especially with the injuries they've had. It's not... They're not quite as good as they... I mean, their pass rush is going to be good. They're going to get to Russell Wilson, but their secondary has been lackluster. They really should have kept A.J. Bouye in the offseason, but they didn't.
I don't know what they were thinking. We'll rely on Jonathan Joseph until he dies.
Jonathan Joseph and Kareem Jackson...
I think so, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there, but yeah, I'm actually really scared of Jadeveon Clowney in this game.
Oh yeah, you want to see Odiombo really prove himself?
Oh,
this is the game.
he's gonna get annihilated, and it's gonna be sad. And Jadeveon Clowney is probably one of the only defensive ends that is possibly faster than Russell Wilson. So it's gonna be hard to it's gonna be hard to watch if Jadeveon Clowney can get to Wilson. But I mean, you never know.
Short passes, Bevel.
Please. Taking the Seahawks.
Yeah, both taking the Seahawks in this one.
I will add though that I really like the Texans, so I'm really interested. I'm actually really excited to watch Sherman on Hopkins. That's gonna be an awesome
I was about to
matchup.
say I think Sherman matches up well against Hopkins. It should be a good one. All right, next game down to the last 3 for the week. Cowboys and Redskins, both 3-3. I don't know.
Like we were saying earlier, for the Bills and Raiders game, it's going to come down to who controls the clock.
Yeah.
The team, that matchup is actually extremely similar to the Bills and Raiders, where the Redskins have this somewhat potent offense, or at least I would say...
they have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And they have some weapons for him. So.
And the Cowboys have an extremely potent running game. So it's going to come down to who controls the clock and who takes advantage of the opportunities when they're presented. If Washington can find a way to spread the ball around in the passing game, then they'll be able to at least they'll be able to take advantage of the secondary from the Cowboys. But the Cowboys' run game obviously is their strength. They could come in and really do some damage against the Redskins front seven that hasn't quite done so well against the run this year.
Right. Yeah, I think the Cowboys are probably going to take this one, but I'm honestly leaning more towards the Redskins personally, just because that I don't know how well that defense is going to play against Kirk Cousins. Washington has an okay offensive line, and so I think that they should be able to hold up well against a kind of like whatever Cowboys defense. So I'm going to take the Redskins personally. I don't know about you.
Well, I'm starting both running backs from both teams, or at least Chris Thompson and Elliott, of course.
So Cowboys, you're thinking Cowboys win like 63-56, and
what I'm really hoping for is that the Cowboys jump out to an early lead. Best case scenario here: Cowboys jump out to an early lead, use Zeke to try to run out the clock, and he is effective, of course, and then they just keep Chris Thompson in the game to throw to him and decide to leave Fat Kelly on the bench. It'd be great, but I'm going to pick
Fat Kelly's in a better shape than any of us could dream of being.
Probably. But I'm going to pick the Cowboys in this one.
Okay. Last two games, Steelers and Lions. That's a tricky one. I'm just going to go bold and say the Lions because Matthew Stafford, like I was talking about the truth with Joff McCown. Truth, yep. Josh McCown is like Brian Scalabrine GOAT status, okay? Matt Stafford is like the actual truth. That guy's great, okay? So I'm going to take Matt Stafford in this one.
Well, and the Lions are coming off a bye.
No, I'm taking Matt Stafford, not the Lions. Let me make that clear. I'm taking Matt Stafford in this one. That team's nothing without him, so don't.
Well, yeah, they're 0-16 without him.
Yeah. So
well, maybe. I don't know. Their defense is okay.
They could probably beat the Bears.
Probably win the game. Yeah, the Lions are coming off a bye. The Steelers are probably. I mean, I don't even think they've had their bye yet, have they?
No, their bye week is I think week 10. I think either way.
They're really looking for their bye week at this point.
I just think the Lions are hungry. Like they've kind of had an up and down season so far, and they're sitting at 3-3. And I think this is where they just kind of come out and get a big win against the Steelers.
Their bye week is next week, by the way.
Oh, week 9.
Yeah, so they're going to play this game and then have their bye week. I'm taking the Lions. Stafford's going to do some work against them, I think. I think the Steelers right now are kind of in a distracted place because there's some weird
There's a lot going on
media. Yeah, there's weird media going on around them, and there's probably some kind of weird negative aura in the locker room at this point. Stemming from Martavis Bryant.
Roethlisberger is not great at handling those kind of things. He kind of just is like, well, I'm at a press conference, and so I'm just going to kind of say the thing that I was thinking, and then like an hour later be like, I probably shouldn't have said all of the things I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
So
I'll take the Lions in this one, but not very confidently.
Yeah, it could go either way. All right, last game of the week. We have a Monday night showdown with the Trevor Siemian Broncos versus the Chiefs. With the way the Broncos have been playing, I got to go with the Chiefs. Broncos just haven't been playing well, so
they're really struggling to find their identity on offense. They played pretty well the first few games. I think maybe their offense, at least the play calling they're having, is probably somewhat easy to figure out for other teams, and I think that's why they started out pretty good and have been looking worse and worse. That Bills game that they lost, I think, was a turning point for them.
Yeah.
I think that really blew out their confidence, or at least Simeon's confidence. I think whatever confidence they had rolling into that game, it was kind of shattered at that point, and then they just haven't looked themselves since then. I would love to see the Broncos be competitive. And they obviously still have a lot of talent on defense and quite possibly be one of the only teams that can match up against the Chiefs' offense pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But their offense just is not... They have no identity. They have no idea what they're trying to accomplish on offense, or at least they might think they do, but it's not happening. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun game to watch, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one for sure. Primetime football. And you know what happens on Monday Night Football. You get John Gruden. He's going to be like, hey, this guy, Kareem Hunt, man, what a stud. I mean, he really makes me think of going out and hunting, you know? When I see the name Hunt, I think Kareem, like cream pie, and I see Hunt, like hunting with my old dad. And my daddy used to always say, you know, son, I love hunting with you. What a guy.
Meanwhile, 4 plays have happened.
Yeah, like, he snaps back in like, anyways, back to football. Spider 2 Wide Banana. Well, that does it for this week's Philbrook Football Podcast. We're doing this pretty late at night, so we're a little bit goofy and silly.
Yeah, and I have to get up. Oh God, I have to get up early in the morning.
But you know what? That's what you get when you get 2 Philbrooks. You get the goofy, you get the silly, and you also get some football.
So thanks for joining. I'm Doofus McGoofus.
Doofus McGoofus.
And Costa Koofus. He's been here the whole time. He hasn't been saying much though.
So how does it feel being? I was going to say on the Lakers, but he's not on the Lakers. He's on the Nuggets.
Last I knew, he was like with the Kings, wasn't he?
Really? I thought he was with the Nuggets.
Well, to be honest, I haven't been keeping up in Costa Koofus news. But as far as I know, I thought he was with the Kings for some reason. But that might have been like 10 years ago.
It's not 10 years ago. He's not a 10-year bet. Anyways.
Whatever.
That's all we have for you this week. Hope you enjoyed our professional expert opinions and insight, and look forward to next week when we give you another podcast.
Another dose.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in to the Philbrook Football Podcast.
Some kind of jingle jangle at the end here. Da, 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 da. Something like that.